And we're live. Good evening, my whiskey brothers and sisters, and welcome to the final book of the Alberta Scotch Society and Friends Whisky Book Club, the Ralfy edition. So as always, we're honored to have you, the viewer, and our panel here with us tonight. And this is a good night as we're continuing our whiskey journey, and I get to spend, as every Saturday night, an excellent time with all of these excellent people. Specifically tonight, we're dealing with Chapter 10, Chapter 11, and the epilogue of Ralfy's book, Search for a Whiskybothy. That one right there. For those of you that are new to us, I'll explain a little bit what we're about. First and foremost, we are lovers of whiskey and all things whiskey, which in this case revolves around reading and tasting whilst reading. Second, we're about the camaraderie that comes with sharing a dram, a book, and an adventure together. That's what we're doing tonight. Tonight's dram will be the non-Ralfy Whiskey of the Year, right there. Specifically, the Cask Strength 10-year-old. Now, his Whiskey of the Year was the 12-year-old, which we're comparing tonight, and we got that from Dave, or Yukon Dave up there, is the one that got us these. So we're going to compare his Whiskey of the Year in this one. Thing is, we think that the 10 is the bigger, better, stronger, better looking brother. So we picked this. We didn't agree with Ralfy. We went with this one. And what we're going to do in the end, like in all previous weeks, we're going to end it and then come back roughly 5 minutes later doing our after dram broadcast, our more relaxed time together, and a little bit more pointed conversation. And what we're going to do tonight a little bit differently is we have 7 people on our panel, and we're going to rotate someone off every 20 minutes about. So you're not going to see Don, the whiskey dive, for the first 20 minutes, but you shall see him. Well, we'll do an introduction. He'll introduce himself and say hi, and then he'll disappear for about 20 minutes and then come back on, and we'll kind of switch everyone off if that's all right. So without further ado, let's do our round table introduction. Start with your names and your handles. And Dave, we are starting with you, sir.
All right.
Well,
Hi, it's Ralfy coming to you from Yukon Dave's basement.
And I love the hat.
I just found that today.
Looking good. Looking good. And next, we're doing and we'll go to Don. Sorry, Dave, we'll take you off for a second, and we're going to go to Don, so Don can do his introduction. Dave, go ahead. There we go. And there's Don. Good stuff. Don, you're up.
All right. I'm Don. You can find me on just about every social media platform as the Whiskey Dive.
Perfect. Thank you for coming in, and we will see you in 20 minutes. And we're going to get Dave back up there, and then we're going to do Drew.
Oh, we lost somebody.
Oh,
yeah, lost Drew.
Yeah. Oh, there I am.
Click.
Hi, I'm Drew Semper. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I love my whiskey.
And you love your whiskey. Good stuff. And we're going to you there. And Nicole.
Hey there, my name's Nicole, and I go by Black Hat Whiskey on Instagram.
And Kent.
Hi, my name's Kent. I go by Whiskey Ass, and I also like my whiskey, and I'm actually quite happy to be doing tonight as we tasted this before it even came to Alberta.
Yes, that's true. We were there at that. That was a nice one. And I'm losing my hat because I'm sweating it up just a little bit. So good. And you're off. And let's get Sean on here. Here's Sean.
Cheers. It's Sean Kincaid. I go by @Sean Kincaid, Facebook and Instagram. Spell Sean correctly, SEAN. It's the only way to spell it.
The only way to spell it. No SHAWN for anybody. No, done.
Nope.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dolph, and I'm the president of the Alberta Scotch Society. I'm your host tonight, and very, very happy to be here, and really happy to be comparing the 10 and the 12-year-olds side by side. Always double fisting. It's fantastic, and really enjoying my time. So what we're going to do right here, right now, let's start off. I don't know. Let's end our time. We're going to end our time with Ralfy on a high note tonight. So the last 2 chapters, we see how Ralfy's YouTube channel just takes off, and he finds his much beloved. He leaves Glasgow, which I think he has a love-hate relationship with, and he goes to the Isle of Man to take care of his mother who has dementia. So he's a good son. He goes to the island where his family spent many a summer vacation. My question to you guys, because I kind of looked for this, and I don't know if you found it or not, is his mother's home the same home he used to go to as a child to see his grandparents? Is it the same one? So I'll throw that out to anybody if one of you want to field that
I
one.
got the impression because he talks about some memories going back there and the time there not necessarily being all good either. And kind of a theme through Ralfy's book where he seems like he's had a bit of a troubled life throughout.
Yeah.
So.
He seemed to really enjoy the house and going to Isle of Man. A different relationship between him and his grandparents.
Yeah. Well, he said they're introverts, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know how much fun he had there with them, but he had fun with his brother. At least he has, well, it seems like good memories of that, right?
Yeah.
But I think as kids, they kind of make their own fun, and it's going on a trip, and they're having fun. Doesn't matter what the adults are doing; they're off on their own.
Yeah.
Which is most kids, I think.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember going on trips to my grandparents' place, and the inside of the house is the least interesting thing. We were always outside exploring.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I wanted to be around the table. That's where all the interesting conversations happen too. So later on in the day, when the beers were flowing a bit, you wanted to be around that table to hear what was going on, because we got a lot of the family gossip too. At least in the Shaw household. That's
Yeah. I'd say depending on the age, at the 11, 12, 13, yes. At the 7, I really didn't care what the adults were talking about around the table. You wanted the Legos were in the basement.
Did we figure out, was it the grandparents' place though?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm
It felt
hoping
like
it
it,
is.
but I couldn't get the proof of it in the pages. Anyone?
Yeah. I went
No.
back and looked, and I just couldn't see it there. But I'm hoping it was his grandparents' place.
It leads you to believe that.
Okay, let's go with that. We're going to go with our first quote of the night. And Ralfy says twice in chapter 8 and chapter 10. And yeah, I didn't talk about this the last time because I didn't really get what he was trying to get at, but I do now. And so here's the quote. The collective experience of enjoying whiskey is governed to a certain extent by the law of diminishing returns. You remember hearing that sentence?
Yep.
That part? That was there. So in other words, as time goes on, we all get a bit more fussy. So here he states in this whole chapter, or the first part of that chapter, what he believes we should not, or we should do to not get bored. Do you connect with any of his statements or suggestions whatsoever?
I would have to say yes.
Yeah.
Bring it up. What do you want them?
Where we started on this whiskey journey many years ago and where we're at now are not even close to being the same place. The funny thing that I do find, though, is there's a lot of whiskeys that I started out drinking and I absolutely love. And then I've gone on to different expressions. And now it's been enough time that I'm going back to those expressions, finding out that I still really enjoy them. I've just
I don't know.
bored of them over time.
We need the book because we have to hold it up until.
Oh, yeah. But so it makes for an interesting thing, that some whiskeys, they sit on your shelf, you buy, a couple bottles and you drink one or part of it. And then all of a sudden, 2, 3, 4 years later, you come back and it's like, oh my God, this was really amazing.
And the other side of that I'm finding is there's whiskeys I'm going to now that are just so unique or out there that 5, 6, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have touched because they're just so out there. But
yeah,
they're maybe too advanced for our taste buds back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead, John.
Sorry. I was just going to say, it's probably the least experienced person here. I've only been really into whiskey for a few years. like everybody, I had bottles that, I bought on a whim and tried them out. And then, they sat there because you move on to other things, especially at the beginning of your journey. You move quickly through different things to find kind of your lane that you want to stick in. And so now I find that there's other people that have connected through social media that are where I was, 2-3 years ago. And I have all these bottles that I probably won't drink anyways. So I ended up boxing up probably, I don't know, 8, 10, 12 heels to half bottles and just donated them to this guy that kind of befriended me, and kind of, as everybody here and, Josh and Fort Mac and the whiskey clubs and everything kind of took me under the wing and showed me the ropes. I'm trying to pay that forward and pass it on. So now I get messages from this guy who shares it with his brother and his friends, and they're all like ecstatic that they got to try this stuff. And I mean, to me, that speaks volumes of the community that we're in as well.
Nice.
Okay,
And-
I want to
sorry.
pop in on that because that's one thing I struggled with this whole book, is that Ralfy was gifted at the beginning by Sammy a box of bottles, basically, and Sammy was sharing his wealth in whiskey with him. We all do that,
Yes.
but Ralfy doesn't do that in his book. And you know what? I read the book and it clicked with me today. That's what was upsetting about this book. He partakes in the whiskey, but he doesn't share in the community of being in whiskey.
Oh,
Okay.
good observation.
Yeah.
So for me, I looked at that word fussy. I don't think I'm fussy. I just know I just have come to like what I enjoy, right? So I'm not fussy. I just have like Sean said, I'm in my lane now, and I know what I like, and I like trying everything just so that I know what else is out there.
Well, let's go back to what Nicole said. Do we remember any part about him kind of sharing with other people? Because you know what, I don't think I noticed that, but
No.
he doesn't really mention it.
Yeah. I guess until Nick mentioned that there, I just assumed some of the bottles on the barrel at the Glasgow club that some of those he brought, but it doesn't actually say that.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you look at it, when he walked in, the bottles were on the barrel.
Yeah.
They were there before he got there.
Well, when we get to party, the bottles are already out too, and we bring some in just so it might be there. So
The only
what Ralfy does do is he shares his knowledge freely, which he does, and he likes that, and we appreciate it. And maybe he does. It'd be, if Ralfy was here, Nick, we would ask him one of these questions. So that, and I didn't have a question for Ralfy tonight. That would be our fourth question for Ralfy if he would ever have been on with us. Do you actually share your whiskey freely with friends, or who do you actually share with? All right. And I'm going to do my quote. The one I liked the most was so one of my, and this, yeah, this is cool. So one of the little tricks is to enjoy a dram entirely on its own merits, no matter what the age is or how available or basic it may be. And that was hard for me because I was kind of snobby with some at first, but then coming to appreciate the younger whiskeys the longer I've been in the game, which I don't know if it's a bit counterintuitive. You kind of look for the 18 plus ones and you kind of get snobby at a certain point, but then you realize that you're missing out on a whole world. And I love the young whiskeys. I do. They don't have the finish that the old whiskeys do, but they're fantastic right up front. So you get that initial shock and just bang. So that's something I really appreciated from it. All right, next question. Ralfy states, and this, I have a hard time with this because I've done this and I want to know the answer from you guys. He says, just don't dive into the local whiskey scene too deep. Just saying. So what do you think he's just saying? I need someone to tell me what he's just saying. Help me out.
I think part of it is he's not a people person. He is an introvert by nature, and he identifies that. So diving into a whiskey community demands some part of you to be an extrovert, whether you choose it at a certain time. And it's sounding like he's just not choosing to do it, or it's not his preference. He prefers to be in his bothy, alone drinking whiskey, and he's happy that way.
All right.
And I think one of the quotes that I've marked off here that ties back into pretty much exactly what he's saying. It says one of the actual problems of drinking good whiskey with company is the increased risk of suggestibility, where someone or several people will contribute comments on form, flavor, and quality of liquor, which will directly or indirectly influence how we view it. So, again, he just wants to enjoy his whiskey. I don't think he wants to really hear too much what other people trying to influence on what they get out of it.
I taste marshmallow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's the marshmallows.
Yeah.
So, and we've all seen that too.
Yeah.
And we make fun of it. But
Marzipan.
marzipan, yeah, it comes up a lot. So, yeah, I don't know. It's delving in. He's like he's warning us not to go too far, or I don't know, maybe I'm trying to internalize it a bit too much, because I delved in pretty quick and and stayed there and kind of sitting in the limelight a little bit. And you go on Instagram and you enjoy that, and you come up here and you go to every tasting possible. And Nick and Drew, and well, actually all of you, Sean, just a couple times, we've seen each other at tasting after tasting after tasting after tasting, and we enjoy it. We have a good time at that. So I was wondering, maybe it was just that. Just stay away from too many people influencing you. I don't know.
But you,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say it's almost a counter to what he says on page 162, and he's talking about the internet in blogs and vlogs and offering different opinions and takes on whiskey. And he says that overall, it's all done in good faith and without nastiness or specific trolling, which is almost a counterpoint to don't dive into your local whiskey community. So decide which one is okay and which one isn't. And if it's okay to go online, then I think he's being really naive. And he's also then being naive about the community that he's surrounded by that's doing whiskey.
Perfect. That works. And this works as well because, no, we're going to go back to you in a sec, Dave. We're going to take off Kent and we're going to put Don in. And Don's going to read his comment, but after you're done, Dave, if that's all right. So go ahead there, Dave. And we're just going to we'll make you big and get them in. Yeah.
Wrong way.
There we go.
I don't know what he means by get in too deep. Does he mean drinking too much? Like, does he mean socializing too? Like, I don't understand that, because I can see drinking too much. But if you've got the time and the money, I don't see a problem of getting in and being with other people that are like-minded. So right. I don't understand what he means by that. Like, you got to get a little more tighter definition of that.
Of getting in. Well, I think we're all in pretty deep, so maybe we all have a hard time understanding it, right? All right, Don, if you could read your grid response.
Oh, yeah, let's see. I'll have to hop back over here.
We're clicking on.
So, I really feel like Ralfy means that you can get yourself into trouble when you dive into the local scene. Sound like a cautionary tale when you read into his getting fished at, I guess that's how the Scots pronounce it, basically getting drunk at events. I believe that comment came after he started receiving emails about getting invited to a bunch of stuff, if I remember correctly. And he made his statement that he doesn't want to be invited or reached out by the marketers and whatnot. Yeah. And I think Nick nailed it with the having his influences happen from local, the locals. He wants to experience the whiskey as it is, how it was meant to be, portrayed, essentially what the distiller wanted you to drink. And, you go to these events and like, there could be like, Banff, we had 500 different bottles of whiskey that we can try.
Yep. And
some people will get to the point where they act like a fool, and it will ruin the experience for more than just you. You may not be the one getting drunk, but the guy next to you who's slurring and commenting and getting, in the way of everything else is going to ruin your experience with that whiskey.
Yep. No, I can go for that. I can understand it. I don't know
So
if I agree with them, but and Sheila's on there. Hello, Sheila, and hello, Ben. We'll just read Sheila's up here. Maybe the idea of diving too far into the local whiskey scene, being that if you get too wrapped up in a single group, you miss the potential opportunities with other groups. Maybe that's possible. Sure,
I can totally get that.
Everyone,
I was with the club that I was in, and then through interactions with other groups, I kind of just stuck with that for a while. And then this summer, and through COVID, obviously, I didn't really have a chance. And the more opportunities came up, I said, well, I got nothing else to do when I'm home. So, other than family, of course, but with whiskey, like I could sit here and drink with my wife and sit on the deck every night, or I can interact with people. And so I've kind of spread my wings and joined lives with other groups that, I never even knew existed. So to me, it's like counter of what he's saying. Like I like reaching out, and I like hearing other people's opinions on different things and sharing my opinions. But then again, seems like Ralfy and I have two completely opposite personalities. So that might be exactly what Nicole was saying.
Alrighty. And I agree with that. Thing is, how can I not agree with what you're saying? I have no idea what he's talking about, really. So I'm agreeing with absolutely everything. Good job, guys.
Yeah, for me, I look for information from a whole bunch of groups, and then I will form my own opinion based off of what people I've talked to, things I've looked up, and my own information. So I think you got to be exposed to a whole bunch of people rather than being stuck in by yourself. And I got a quote, kind of what Drew said there from Ralfy. Can I read this one?
Yes, please.
Excessive alcohol consumption turns adults into children, frequently horrible children. I really like that one. I'm a happy drunk, so.
And am I gone?
I'm on.
All right.
I don't know where
If you can hear me, I don't know what's going on right now. So let's I'm gonna read my next quote, make someone big and trying to figure out. So Ralfy talks about some of the shortfalls of being an online influencer. His response to one of these shortfalls is that he decides to not accept gifts, invitations, or bottles or samples to do online reviews. So his explanation for the former is the undisclosed problem with pre-designated samples and batches in standard bottle form sourced from marketeers is that they might, and I do mean might, not actually present what is being sold later to customers as standard product, but maybe tasty promotional versions. So you're getting one product, you're saying it's fantastic, but people are going to get a different product possibly. Do you guys agree with this?
I think it's possible.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I never thought about it till he said that. I thought, well, yeah, anything's possible. And when you look at the big companies, yeah, we've talked about this many times about sending out samples, and people don't want samples out of a bottle that's open because they don't know if that's the true sample or is that what you guys are sending to get a good review. And I was always shocked by that, thinking, oh, the guy obviously doesn't trust me, and I'm still kind of floored by that whole thing. So it's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, if you were to be sending out a sample to somebody to try to sell your product, to just tweak it by an additional 0.5 or 1% ABV without really changing the label, are they going to know? But that's really going to change the flavor at the end. Send the sample out at 46 and bottle it at 43.
Or add something to it to change the taste a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I never thought about that until he said that. I thought, geez, that's entirely possible. And those are the slippery guys that he's worried about.
Oh yeah. The reason why bourbon now has the bottled and bond.
Well, look at Japanese whiskey. How much of that is teaspoon whiskey?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like, I was shocked when I read all those things about it. I don't want to buy another Japanese whiskey after reading that.
Yep.
I don't have any faith in anybody anymore because I just don't know, and I'm not smart enough to figure it out on my own.
Yeah, I think what Ralfy's going for is he's eliminating variables.
There you go.
Oh, did we lose Dolph? Yeah. So he's eliminating variables. You have someone reaching out to you saying, "Hey, I want to send you this, but it's going to be, like this. You're going to get a little bottle with the label on it, a percentage, and this happened to be Canadian Club 20-year-old. But it's going to be listed for like on that one 40% ABV, but you don't know when you have a bottle with a label, you're held to standards. Like you can't just throw whatever you want to on a bottle that has a licensed label. You're held to it. It's going to be the exact same experience anyone else would have walking into a store, grabbing this bottle off the shelf, going home, popping it, opening, and pouring a glass. So I think what he's doing is he's trying to be real with us by opening up a bottle and telling what he thinks of it. He's not getting the honey barrel out of the distillery that is like prime A expression. It's not tainted by the process of mixing a bunch of barrels together. So I think that's essentially what he's going for. Because you can do that. You can find that honey barrel, send it out to people. They're going to rant and rave about it. And when even they go to buy a bottle off the shelf, it could potentially be completely different. Kind of like our Bunnahabhain 12 experience, 2 weeks ago.
I was going to say, with the Spirits Awards, the shows that they have, I mean, how many times have we heard that the Henry McKenna that won, and the one they sent him was the absolute best single barrel that they had, and now anything you find on the shelves isn't going to come close to it. Obviously, single barrels are going to be a little bit different than a standard 12-year-old expression, but you have to know that anything that's presented to be judged is going to be the absolute best that they can put out. Whether it's a standard bottling or not, you don't know what they're providing for the judges.
Well, for the judging I've been involved in is you always got to send a bottle that's in the market. And, I can't speak for the big guys because they're doing a million bottles, like throw a number out there, versus the smaller guys that are doing, let's say, 1,000 bottles.
So I think what Sean was getting at is like on Henry McKenna, when you look at the bottom of it, you can see a barrel number and then the barrel date.
Yeah.
Now I have 5 bottles of this, and every single one is different barrel number, different barreled on date, and you can taste a minor difference when you go from bottle to bottle. It's not like night and day, but some of the flavors are at different levels.
Well, and each barrel's got to be different. No two barrels are the same. That's why they blend them together to get a uniform flavor.
Right. But with these single bottles from like Henry McKenna, they have 5 or 6 different barrels and bottle on dates in the market at the same time. So they could just pick the very best one, send it in, and like you were saying, restrictions, it has to be on the market. Technically, it's on the market.
Yeah. Well, and I haven't been involved in all the awards. I just know some of the guys that I've dealt with what they
That's
ask
a good
for.
point. It really is, because and a lot of us buy the individual cask, right? The single cask. We like that. We enjoy it. But to go from one to the other, how many of you have gone online? I'm just asking this. You've actually gone to Master of Malt, or you've gone to whatever site it is, and tried to look up who knows where you are. For us, it'd be Keg and Corker or wherever it is for me. And I see a bottle, and it could be Glendronach, right? And then it's a single cask, but then there's a Master of Malt single cask, and you kind of go and you check out those reviews. You open the bottle at home, and it's nothing close to it. So I think when you're dealing with individual bottles or a single cask like we do, we have that option of, not the option, we have the chance of being misled. And we have to deal with it, I guess.
That's the problem with listening to other people, right?
No, right.
I want to try it myself, and okay, I'll buy one of those bottles, or I won't buy one of those bottles.
Yeah, I don't think I've gone and looked up reviews for single cask. Because again, for some of these ones, there's like 60, 80 bottles in total. Like the odds of actually trying to find
The same one.
that cask, that bottle to get the review from, I don't find it's worth it. You know,
All right.
I wish Travis was here tonight, because with Morrison and McKay, they release a lot of the strictly limited year after year, and it's just 1 year difference. But they're not the same cask. They're sister casks, so they were putting the different casks at the same time. But one cask will have a different influence on it than another one. And I found that when we did the strictly limited launch in January, we had some of the older or younger, I guess, ages, and they tasted. You could tell they were the same whiskey, but the barrel influence was totally different on a couple of them.
And which one did we have together just recently? And they called them sister casks, but it was not the same. That was Ben Nevis, I think, right? Just recently.
They had a Buna. They've had a 3 and a 4-year-old Buna back-to-back years, and they've been drastically different.
Okay. All right.
Glen Talker's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Next question. Ralfy finds his bothy in the yard of his mother's property on the Isle of Man. It's perfect for him. It's old, it's solid, it's rustic, it's a bit drafty, elemental, and has a fireplace. Flickering flames, bookcase, shadows, and silence. And I think we can all safely say that I and the whole panel in front of us are really happy that he got his bothy, right? He was looking for it his whole life. He finally got his peaceful sight. And I'm truly happy for Will. So I have a couple more questions I want to talk about Ralfy, but I'll do that in the after dram. Right now, let's do two things. One, let's review our whiskey. And Nicole, we're going to start with you, and then we're going to kick you off and kind of do the rotation. And then we'll kind of do a review of the book club, what you guys thought of book club, and other kind of general questions. That's all right. Are you ready, Nick?
Sure.
Sure. Good.
So I've got just the 10-year-old. And what caught me right on the nose is it was quite spicy. There was a lot of almost star of anise when I poured this about 40 minutes ago. And it's smoothed out and it's gone quite honey and quite sweet, toffee notes. Those spice notes are still there, but they've gone more to a baking spice now.
Did you put any water yet?
Oh, goodness, no.
Nope. Okay. No water yet.
No water.
I'll do that with the last little bit, which is what I usually do. The last couple sips, I'll put the drops and see then. So I want to keep it like this at the beginning. All right. And who are we going to do next? Sean, let's go to you, buddy. You ready?
All right.
Not me.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Like Nicole said, the 10, it's cask strength, so it was sharper. There was definitely some spice, and now I get the baking spice. I just put some water in it, and the nose tamed it down. The nose is actually very similar to the 12 now that I put, I think, 4 drops of water. So, you get the spice, you get honey and toffee, like the sweetness to it. It's almost, I don't know, there's some citrus that I find too. I'm not exactly sure what it is. The 12, before I put the water on, the 12, the nose seemed not as in your face, but almost more elegant. Like it was just,
Okay.
It was beautiful to me. And then the 10 had that in the background, but the sharpness came up. Now with the water, they're very similar. And the 10 on the taste was really good at the beginning. Now with the water, it's just taken that spice down a bit and brought up more of the baking spice, I find, as well.
Good stuff. Do you have a preference yet, or do you care? Both good.
I'd say the 10 without water is probably the preference.
Yeah. All right. Dave, you're up.
All right. So 10 and 12, I found the 10 to be, for me, it was definitely spicy, but a little more on the alcohol side. And when I consumed the dram, I found it very drying. It just, my whole mouth dried out. I bought these two together, and I have this much left in the 10, and the 12 is gone. So
so we know which one. Well, no, but you shared the sample, so it doesn't mean you like the 12 more. You shared a lot.
I definitely like the 12 more.
Okay.
I find it much softer on the nose and much easier to drink. I put some water in the 10, and I still get that. My tongue feels like sandpaper. So I'm probably not the best guy to be asking about this one, and it may be because of what I had for dinner.
Alrighty. Don.
Yeah, so I also have the 10 and the 12. And I'm getting kind of like, I don't know, the fruit you get in rum on the 10. Towards the end of the palate. The nose, I agree with everyone. It kind of like hits a home run. It's right there in your face. Completely enjoyable. I feel it benefited a little bit from adding some water to it. Kind of smoothed out some of the rough edges from being, cask strength, but overall very enjoyable. And then the 12, somewhere in the middle of the taste, I kind of get bananas, which is kind of neat. I've never gotten bananas in a whiskey. I've usually only gotten it in rum. But I kind of agree with sorry, Dave, I forgot your name for a second, but I agree with Dave. I enjoy the 12 more than the 10. The cask strength fanatic in me really likes the 10, but for just sitting down and drinking a scotch, the 12 is extremely enjoyable. It's slightly more affordable than the 10 because I just found out the 10 was limited to 2,000 cases worldwide. But the 12 it's very enjoyable. All from start to end. Yeah, the nose is a little bit lighter, but that's not a bad thing.
Don, what are your price points there? Because for us, it's $80 to $100 for both of them. Depends where we found it, right?
So I have never seen these bottles in Washington. Since
California,
I ordered them in from California. But I know I can get it in Washington since my friend reached out to me. So that's a good sign. But I think I paid $80 for the 10-year, and I think I paid $60 for the 12.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's good.
Yeah, something around there, and then like $20 shipping. But
Don and Dave, I'm asking both of you. Maybe you like the 12 more because it for me it has a bit of a sweetness to it, a kind of a caramelly sweetness right on the nose, right up front. Well, and Don, you with your bourbon, and maybe Dave, you like sweet too.
Well,
go ahead, Don.
Yeah, Dave, you can go first.
Well, I don't get that high alcohol drying in my mouth on the 12, and that's something that, I mean, my lips are numb now. I don't know if it's this or if it's the whole day kind of adding up together. But yeah, I've kind of gone numb after sampling the 10 multiple times.
For me, it's not the sweetness. I think the definition of the flavors, you can kind of taste where the whiskey goes. It's kind of like a story when you drink it. Whereas the cask strength is kind of like, I don't know, when you're listening to an orchestra and like every section's doing something completely different, but it still sounds really good. That's kind of how the 10 is. Whereas the 12 it's more like a story. It's very fluid from start to end.
Yeah. 12's way more drinkable for me.
Alrighty. And Drew, you ready?
Yeah.
I didn't want to get you with a mouthful.
Oh yeah, no. The nose, I was getting all the star anise, and it's now down to the baking spice. I like the finish on this. It's initially dries your mouth, and then it's like orange marmalade and sweet molasses, and it's just going on forever. It's from the last sip, I don't know, probably about 2 minutes ago. It's still there.
Excellent. I love that. When you finally, And Mr. Whiskey Ass, we'll call you Mister. Somehow I won't, but
Oh, yes.
I don't think that other person's going to ever come back and watch us again. I actually enjoy the 10, the Cask Strength a lot more. The 12, I got quite a bit of honey and like a mocha in the background on it from the nosing. And the definite honey and bananas came through in the taste with a little bit of butterscotch and maybe even, I don't know, some like a raisin kind of just lingering there kind of thing. And the 10, I mean, it was, well, and also in fairness, I was eating some chocolate. So I'm getting a lot of dark chocolate, again, with some honey and a bit of, again, raisin on the 10. But I do like the Cask Strength, the spice on it immediately, just it hits the middle of your palate. And I typically don't like a lot of spice in my scotch. I find it just burns my tongue and it's not enjoyable, but this one actually is quite enjoyable to me. So it's kind of one of those oxymorons.
The just added a couple of drops of water, and it massively opens up with citrus and everything on the palate. It is very nice. It really opens up.
You convinced me, Drew. I'll do the There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops.
Whoa. Don't water it down too much. You're going to lose all the alcohol.
That's crazy. Well, I have a fair amount.
Yeah.
I can handle that. And I don't have a whole bunch to add to this, except for the fact that the 12 I found sweeter. And Don, because you're a bourbon guy, I thought that's why you would like it. Before we even started, that was my perception for you. And the caramel came out for me right away. So maybe I don't like sweet as much, but I do like this 12. I do. But I just like the 10 more. I like the hit. And it's a 10 and it's a Cask Strength you can put on the tongue, and I've been able to hold it. And they always say the second for years, so I do the same thing. Just something to guide me. So it was on the tongue for 10 seconds, and I didn't have the burn. It went back, and my mouth filled up with saliva. So that's the same thing as adding water, I'm guessing. And it just was fantastic. It made me really, really happy to have this dram. And as I'm having it tonight, even though I think we're almost half and half, I think 4 to 2, maybe 4 to 3. Someone, because Dave and Don, Drew likes it, but he likes the water, trying to make it like the 12. So let's call us half and half. So we're good. But I like disagreeing with.
I like what it is, but the water does open it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the raisins, I get that on the 12 more than the 10, Kent. I get like a lot of raisin on the 12.
The 12 definitely is got a lot more raisin. There's just a hint on the back end of the raisin in the 10.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm glad we had that. Nicole, you're off to the side. You can't hear it. I still have your 12 sample here. Nicole came, but I was out and I missed her, and she didn't get her sample tonight, so I have to apologize. Sorry, you didn't get it. But we're going to now, you will get it, though. We're going to talk about the general book and book club experience. And so, Sean and Drew, this first part of the question for you guys. Have you ever been in a book club before?
A book club like this? No. Yeah, I did a library camp, like club, when I was younger, but nothing as an adult.
But you couldn't drink at library camp.
No, you couldn't drink at library camp.
You don't know what goes on in camp stays in camp. Sean, how about you?
No, never been part of a book club like this. This has been awesome. It's been so much fun. I'm glad that I was able to get in, and especially the last couple where I was at home, not stuck in camp. I can actually partake in the drams.
Makes a difference.
Oh, big time. Big time. Yeah, you can appreciate it a lot more. The only other thing that I have been kind of is I'm a huge history buff, so I send back and forth some books, especially on Irish history. Took a deep dive into my genealogy, and so Scottish and Irish history. But the Troubles in Ireland, I have like half my bookshelf is full of books from the Irish history. So sharing that with a couple friends, one whose mom is actually from Belfast. It's been really interesting hearing the history firsthand, going over there, seeing it, but also reading the books that have been written on both sides of it. But yeah, that's the only thing even comes close to this.
Excellent. And would you suggest people actually doing this in the future there, Drew and Sean?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You had a good time?
Oh, yeah, I had a great time. And
I've got some books.
Looking forward to the next one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I don't have that book yet. I may have to search it out, but I have some really good books that I wish more people would find and purchase. A couple of Irish whiskey, and then that Pursuit, the Balvenie stories. I don't like any of the whiskey that came out with it, but that book is actually really, really, really good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
If in the next couple minutes, if you see it, just put that up so we can get a look at the cover of that guy. I'm a visual guy, so I like that to have that big visual up. And so the rest of our panel, so our bottom three, how did this compare to the last book club?
It's totally different.
Yeah.
But this is one man's thinking versus facts and figures, and having the author there to scold you when you screw up.
Yeah.
So you're less stressed out now? Is that it? You're less on edge?
No, I think they're both great.
Yeah.
But this is trying to figure out what one guy's thinking versus doing the history, doing the facts and figures of the breweries, and having a guy there that can talk about everything.
Yeah, he can elaborate on what he's talking about. And we're second guessing a lot of what Ralfy is trying to say, right? It's like, did he or didn't he? Well, we can formulate our ideas, but if he was here with us, he would set us straight.
We're putting words in his glass.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, and then
that's where Davin was so great, because not only did Davin, we were able to get into the book, and he was able just to elaborate like tenfold on everything we talked about. It was just so amazing going with, my knowledge on Canadian whiskeys went from nothing to, just out of this room.
Yeah.
And I support Canadian whiskey now.
Oh, me too.
I'm not going to say I support the mass-produced low price stuff, but boy, the step up, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is that we went from a book written by an author to a book written by a whiskey enthusiast he's not an author. This is the first book he ever wrote. So yeah, it's, a lot of trips and stumbles along the way. We don't even talk about chapter 7 anymore, but
no, that's done.
Well, we kind of do, because chapter 11 ended with a little bit of chapter 7, but in my opinion, but it's overall a good book. I personally didn't enjoy it that much. I am very much looking forward to going back to Davin's next book. But yeah, completely different when you jump from one to the other. But you guys made it fun.
Yeah.
When going through,
sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Going through these two books, I would sit with both these guys over a dram and talk to them and ask questions and just pick their brains. I'd love to sit with Ralfy and Davin at the same time.
We were really spoiled having Davin with us. We could ask him questions. And if Ralfy was here, he would have explained a couple things to us that didn't make sense, and he would have elaborated. But he's not an author, like Don said. He's a guy writing a book, and he put himself out there. And I told you, those are one of the things I like most about Ralfy. He puts himself out there and does things on the cuff, and he'll make the decision. And he said people asked him over a couple of years to do it. I think if you had a couple of years, that you would have written it a little bit better. But I'm not trying to be judgmental. Okay, so it's great for what it is. And if you expect a literary novel from Ralfy, you're not going to get it. His father was a librarian, and I think he thought he could kind of jump into that. And Davin told us the last time that writing is not easy. And one of Davin's pet peeves were people getting into writing too fast. You remember him saying that? And that they should slow down and get to know the craft first. And then there's Ralfy. It's just like jumps right in, which he told us not to do in the whiskey scene, but he does with the book and jumps right in. So we accept it for what it was. I want some thumbs up or downs with you guys. Are you happy you read the book? I don't care if you liked it or not, but are you happy you read it?
Yeah.
Okay. No, Don, it's okay. You can do whatever you want.
Well,
and if Ralfy was here, he could talk to us.
It's definitely around 6 or 9 o'clock. It's not quite,
Yeah.
But the thing is he didn't write it for us. He wrote it for his general fan base, the ones who wanted the book. He didn't write it for someone walking into a Barnes and Noble, seeing it, picking it up, because it's not there.
I think he wrote it for himself.
Yeah.
The rest of you guys can go to hell.
Yeah.
I think he wrote it the way that he did his YouTube once. One take, 3 minutes, not
Bloopers
polished, bloopers and spelling mistakes included.
Yeah.
Just sit down and let's write this book and be done with it.
Yeah, it was Ralfy.
Well, that's a good point. We go back to that. The whiskey bothy.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I find that endearing. It's like that child that the little cute 2-year-old that can't pronounce something and they say it wrong. It's endearing. It's how I accept it now.
Yeah.
It's an endearing.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. What I'd like to do is, Dave, we're going to take you off for a sec just so I can get Nick's opinion on the book as well. Oh, no, Sean, sorry. I did want to see those pictures. If you could explain
I'll
them.
go through 5 really quickly. I'll end with the Pursuit. This one, Peat Smoke and Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
That is all about Isla. I think it was written before Kilchoman opened up. It is so technical about everything on the island, geography, but especially all the distilleries. It goes deep into technology about everything in them. It's a great read.
Hold it up again, John.
$14.
And hold it still.
Hard copy, it's like $355.
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay. This one, Whiskey Distilled by Heather Green.
Oh, yeah.
Great book.
Yeah, it is amazing. It taught me more about, American whiskey and how it's made and everything. It was a fantastic read as well.
No, the first whiskey sommelier, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. This is the one I just got. It's the Glass Apart. It's all about Irish single pot whiskey. I've just flipped through it. So far, it looks really technical and goes into detail.
Okay.
This is one that I've read front to back. Dead Rabbit, from Barley to Barney. It is fantastic. Every distillery, every hotel, they have different sections on bars and pubs, and it's
What's
amazing.
the name on top of that, Sean? Did it say the Dead Rabbit?
The Dead Rabbit.
Yeah,
it's a
the
bar
Dead
in New
Rabbit.
York, and that book is very much like Davin's next book that we're doing.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's cool.
It's the Irish one of that.
Yeah,
And
I actually
it's
had the bottle of
amazing.
whiskey. I have their whiskey.
And then this is the one I was talking about. It's Pursuit, the Balvenie Stories collection.
Oh, okay.
And it's just got a drawing of their distillery. It's not very big at all, but it's short stories, poems, everything in it. And it was fantastic. I read it about 2 nights drinking half a bottle of Balvenie 12.
So that looks like mine, because my Balvenie, it's for the Pete Week, we're going to have this for the Alberta Scotch Society. And this comes with a different book. I think there's 3 mini books associated with this. And if there's a thing you scan with your phone, and it gives you the audio book of it. So I think these are connected, this with your book and the 3 mini books. Or maybe our mini books are in your book.
I think that the mini books make up this book.
Okay, that's cool. And where'd you get that, Chuck?
This one I got on Amazon. It was released the day that the whiskeys and the book were released. It was available on Amazon as well.
Excellent.
So
Good.
All these books I got off Amazon.
this book on Amazon is about 2 to 3 day delivery with Prime.
Nice.
I'll get it.
Yeah.
Quick. Nick, we're going to put you up. The question was, how does this one compare to our last Devin?
There's no
I
comparison.
know which one you like more, but
I think it's been said well. They're two very differently written books with two different intents. I read it. Let's leave it at that. I was not a fan of it. If anything, it actually made me less of a fan of Ralfy.
okay. And that's okay too. That's what these are about. We're experimenting with stuff. We have no idea. We think we're going to like it, right? That's why we pick them in the first place. Davin's book, I wanted to feel very patriotic, and we picked that. And three of us already had the book, so that is why we actually picked Davin's first. We had it. It's like there. This one we had to go get, and I'm going to take responsibility for it. I wanted to do it. I've been watching Ralfy, but I'm not a Ralfy fanboy. I don't watch him every week, but I do go back and watch stuff, and I do trust him. But I do think that Ralfy doesn't get things in one take. He does do things live, but I think he thinks about the whiskey he's going to talk about, and he tastes, and he gives you the 50 descriptors of it. I'm pretty sure he thinks about it for a long time before he goes on the air. But he just does one take.
He does do a lot of research about the distillery that he's about to do. We know that for a fact.
Yeah.
I find lately, since he started doing his extras, that they are more. That I like watching those more because he goes a lot into like the background and the technology and stuff like that. And goes off on weird tangents.
I agree.
There is a rumor, just a rumor right now, that he is gonna be writing book 2. I have no idea if it's true or not, but I've seen that online a few times.
Yeah, he says it in the book at the back in the epilogue. He says he's thinking about it as well, but I haven't heard about it online. So if you heard that, that's good to know. And you know what? I'll read it because it's going to be 140 pages and it's going to be big print, and it really won't matter. I'll read through it in a week because it probably won't be a book club book. I think we've learned, unless he comes online and does it with us. All right. If he does it, then maybe we'll do it. But beyond that, it's okay. So any closing comments? This is our last minute with Ralfy before I wrap it all up. We're at the 57-minute mark. Any last thoughts by somebody?
I'm curious. Did you
Go ahead.
did you catch your Canadian pride mentioned in chapter 10?
Yes, and that's part of the after dram. I start with that one with the Glen Breton. So yeah,
sounds good.
John,
thanks for having me in. It was so much fun, including it killed my week at work. It broke it up perfectly, and I was lucky to get off on a week of holidays last week and finish it off. It was awesome. I will definitely be ordering that one on Amazon, whether I can come in or not, but. I look forward to reading it and partaking in the meetings for that book.
Perfect.
Yeah, definitely enjoyed this.
Yep.
You did?
I enjoyed it, but I'm glad it's done.
You know what? A lot of things are like that. And sometimes you're on vacation and you're happy vacations are done. So, I do sometimes. All right, guys. Again, it's been a fantastic start of our evening. Thanks to our listeners. Thanks to the panel. Thanks to everyone. Thanks to Dave, who's just outside the panel, and he's looking in at us because he gave us the 12-year-old. And Nick, I still have to get that to you. But before we sign out tonight, let's talk about Davin's triumphant return next week with our broadcast. And we'll be taking a special look at the Whisky Book Club Canadian Whiskey Journey. So Davin and his co-author Blair of The Definitive Guide to Canadian Distilleries, the portable expert to over 200 distilleries and spirits they make, will be our spirit guide on our road trip throughout Canada. And I'm looking forward to this. And we're doing all the provinces. We're doing the territories that are actually presenting something. And what's great about it is, one, we're starting next week. So that's really good. We're doing it for 13, maybe 15 weeks if we do an extra couple weeks in Ontario. Davin and Blair we already have their first 5 done, but Davin and Blair enlist the services of the distilleries. So the reps, we're doing the owners for the first couple, and anyone related to the distillery that wants to come on. So we've got distillery managers coming on, we've got the owners, we've got everybody. And that helps me and a few of our friends, because there's going to be 1 or 2 book club members every one of these nights.
Maybe we
Davin,
should Zoom.
No, Davin, Blair, me, and then 2 other people with the distillery guide. So we're going to hear from these guys talk about their creations every week. And so what better summer activity is there than traveling, drinking whiskey, and then in the after jam doing the cocktails, which is going to be brand new for me. It's going to be fantastic. So our virtual traveling, we're not really traveling, but it's as close as I'm going to get. So I'm really happy to do that. So everybody, thank you for being here. Thanks for being part of this book. And if you read along with us and read Ralfy's book, good for you, good for us. And I'm glad everyone actually bought into this book, because I think we should support someone that does give stuff to us online. He does. He gives it to us free. I'm not a guy that gives money on Patreon and stuff. So this is my way of giving back, and I feel kind of good about it. Join us, everybody. 5 minutes in the after dram. It's more relaxed, more pointed. You hear really people's opinions that they kind of hold back a little bit now. And it's a fun time. So cheers. You can still two-fist it. We still have a couple of them. Here's to our viewers. Here's to the fantastic panel. And here's to everyone out there that joined us for the last 4 weeks. Have a fantastic